Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl is presented by UFC Fight Pass. See the best that UFC Fight Pass has to offer on the Fight Pass 24/7 stream, offering a constant channel of historic fight action all day, all night. Tune in, sit back, and enjoy a network created by fans for fans. Step into our world. UFCFightPass.com.
Sex and violence. Sex and violence. Sex and violence. Sex and violence.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl, presented by UFC Fight Pass, the show that interviews top-level MMA fighters and other experts in their fields about love, dating, romance, and that all-too-taboo subject, sex. I'm your host, Ashley Rebel Girl Evan Smith. Now let's talk about sex and violence.
What's happening, hot stuff?
What is up, all my naughty listeners? We're back in the studio. And, okay, so we apologize for missing last week. DJ Zole, we thought he had the COVID, yeah. But he's all good. He just had a gnarly flu, and now he's got a sinus infection. So DJ's all, he's not feeling good. So anyway, like we're saying, yeah, we're feeling better, Still feeling a little crappy. I'm looking at Zole. He's still feeling crappy. I hope you guys are feeling okay. It's the shitty winter months, even though it's January, it's probably going to be, bad weather for a few more months. So take care of yourself out there, guys. You got the COVID and then you just got the regular flu and whatnot. But other than that, I want to tell you guys a little bit about this weekend. It's going to be fun if you're in SoCal area. Be sure to go by Los Angeles. It's called Rose Wolf Studios in downtown LA. It is SOS 9, the pro team duels. If you're into grappling, this is some of the highest level of grappling out there. This one's really special because instead of just, a certain weight class all trying to get the, prize money, we've got teams of 3. So it's the pro team duels, and 10th Planet, Gracie, whatever, the teams are, they're all competing for $3,000 as well as a women's, I think either bantamweight or featherweight super fight. So that's exciting. I love watching the ladies. I'll be there hosting as well. And if you want tickets to that, go to @SubmissionOnlySeries on Instagram or SubmissionOnlySeries.com. That's a really fun event. It's actually in like a production studio, so it's not like in a gym. It's got a different vibe. There's an open bar, a really cool just jiu-jitsu community type of event there, so check that out. And then next weekend, if you guys are also in the SoCal or LA area, January 28th is Up Next Fighting 4 at Commerce Casino. It's a very special collaboration event with Bad Meds Kill Real People, or Stop Bad Meds is what it's called. Basically, it's a public service announcement, but they're bringing awareness to the fact that a lot of fake pharmaceutical drugs are out there being sold online and killing so many people in our communities. And I feel lucky to be working for an organization that is a part of something like that actually puts effort into, our community and spreading, awareness and a positive message. And so actually, www.safe.pharmacy.com is where you can go to check your prescriptions. It takes 2 seconds. Put in your prescription. I'm not exactly sure the other details. I think it's, maybe the website that you got it, and it could literally save a life. And so on January 28th, you're going to have Up Next Fighting 4, and then a couple really cool things that they're actually going to be showcasing at the event as well. I'm going to be wearing a special leather jacket that's actually made by a local LA artist, and we're going to be raffling that off. It's a really cool leather jacket. It's got some studs and some cool artwork on the back. And then raffling that off during the event, and all that money will go to the event as well, like the charity Stop Bad Meds. So just an all-around cool night. If you want tickets to that, that's upnextfighting.com, and you can check out their social media at upnextfighting. And then finally, guys, the day has come where I'm going to get some stem cells in Colombia. I know, I'm so excited. It's still about a week and a half away. But I'm telling you guys because if you guys are avid listeners and you listen to the show every week, you may be wondering, where the fuck is Sex and Violence in February and March? We're probably taking about 2, maybe 3, but definitely 2 weeks off while I'm there getting poked and stabbed and recovering and whatnot. But fear not, we will be back with some amazing guests. I really want to talk about next week's guest, but it's such a good one to end off with, but I won't get ahead of myself. Yeah, that's it, guys. A couple little reminders. We're going to end this chapter of, my life with a bang. I'm going to be doing a lot of events. I'm going to be working really hard. And then when I come back from Colombia, it's fucking go time, guys. Whoa. If you guys have been a long-term listener, I've been talking about this for so long, years now, years too, and some change, which it was frustrating for a minute, but then I finally just started to trust the process, and now it almost seems like unreal, like, holy shit, okay, like I'm actually gonna be back in real fight camp very soon. It's the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. So stay tuned, guys. If you're a fan of me as an athlete, not just a podcaster, I promise I'm gonna be bringing the fucking heat. I've never ever felt this positive. I've never had this much support in my life. I've never been this sober. I've never just really done things the right way. And I'm excited. I don't even know what's going to happen. I know it's going to be awesome. I know that whatever I put out there, inside the cage is going to be my best effort. And I've done pretty good job while giving a not so full effort, if you will. So now I'm really stoked. And instead of talk about it, I'm just going to show you guys. So just keep watching everything that I've got going on. I promise it will be entertaining. If you guys want to support us in other ways, you can check out our website, sexviolencewithrebelgirl.com. Buying any merchandise on there really does help out. I also have an exclusive website, and that's called ashleyrebelgirl.com. It is like OnlyFans, but better. It's called Fan Time, and it's just where all my exclusive content goes. That's a little too risque for Instagram and all the other social media platforms. And I am still definitely looking for an intern. I know a couple of you who sent me resumes and emails, you reached back out following up. I just kind of wanted to wait until we got a few more applicants until I kind of did the interview process. So if you're interested in being an intern for the show, the duties would be simple. It would be helping book guests and basically like some creative ideas about some segments and the research, kind of like the legwork. If that sounds fun to you, please email us at sexandviolencepodcast@gmail.com. And you can always email us with other stuff too, like guest suggestions. If you want to sponsor the show, we love money. We love anyone who wants to support us. That's the email, guys. And lastly, I tell you all the time, but it really does help us, rate and review the show. It's a podcast. I know you're probably listening while you're driving or doing laundry or working out or whatever the hell you're doing. You don't have to do it right now, but, maybe later, just give us a little follow on Apple or send this to somebody who you think might like it, because word of mouth still is the best marketing. So, all right, now let's talk to some of our amazing sponsors that make the show possible. Okay, guys, let me tell you about our newest sponsor of Sex and Violence Podcast with Rebel Girl, EA Tax Resolutions. They are professionals that will help with tax issues and bookkeeping. Whether you're looking to settle your tax debt for less than you owe or have back taxes that you need to file, EA Tax Resolutions can help you out. Don't believe me? Check out their YouTube channel, EA Tax Resolutions, where they show exactly how they've helped clients in the past save thousands in taxes. Not only does EA Tax Resolutions help with tax issues, but with bookkeeping. Now, bookkeeping is commonly overlooked by small businesses, myself included, as not being the most important. However, this is very crucial come tax time. Instead of scrambling for receipts, all your information is organized and, most importantly, accurate. So, if you have a small business and you're looking for a bookkeeper, EA Tax Resolutions can help you out. And remember, if you want to learn more about EA Tax Resolutions, you can visit their YouTube channel, EA Tax Resolutions, or call them at their 800 number, 1-800-245-0596. Again, 1-800 245-245-0596 or visit them at their website, eataxresolutions.com. Today's guest is an American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappler and mixed martial artist. The bantamweight fighter is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a 6-time no-gi world champion. The Invicta FC veteran's last fight was September 2020. The 32-year-old was born in Waianae, Hawaii, and is of Hawaiian, Portuguese, Samoan, German, and Irish descent. In 2016, she married Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and world champion Renato Canuto. Together, they run Hybrid Jiu-Jitsu in Las Vegas. We talk about future cage goals, dad, a Hawaiian MMA legend, what's an economy shower, married after 3 months, Hawaiians mate for life like penguins, 6-year age difference, pros and cons, future family desires, loves long eyelashes and long arms, a true love green card marriage, are we having sex or is this jiu-jitsu, and much more. Here's your guest, Raquel Lionheart Pa'alui Canuto. We're here with Raquel. Very excited. We were trying to have you on the show last week, but we made it happen. Thank you so much for being flexible. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
It's a good day here. You know, DJ Zole's feeling a lot better, and I'm going to Colombia in 2 weeks. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, actually, you and I were speaking before the podcast just now about some injuries that you might have, and for me, I'm going to get stem cells. And any person I come into contact these days, like I ask them, I'm like, have you, even researched stem cells, because they can be pricey, but not a lot of people know about them. What are your thoughts on stem cells?
Well, my husband has been like plagued by injuries the last couple of years. So he's actually been doing a lot of research on that and like the PRP stuff recently. And then especially like with this recent injury that I have now, I'm like, my gosh, I don't know how much longer I can deal with this stuff. So he's been doing a lot of research like in the last couple of months. Cause I think he's at that point where like, man, we're spending like thousands of dollars a month on physical therapy and just everything. Like he goes like 2 or 3 times a week. And even that, it's like by the end of the week, sometimes we spent like $400 or $500 in 1 week on like body work for the both of us. So I've been looking at that because like, man, I think that's we need to figure it out, so I will talk to you more about that later, I'm not trying to sell anything. I just, as someone who's been poked like a fucking pincushion these last 2 years, getting like, U.S. stem cells, Tijuana stem cells, headed to Colombia, like, I hear about my fellow athletes who are in pain, and I'm like, I just want to like get the message out there. So yeah, I will definitely speak to you offline about that. And it sounds like your husband can use it as well. Oh yeah, he's like 26 with I don't know, like they basically said like, I don't want to like say it because like not his injuries are not public. But some of his injuries, like like doctors we trust, not just medical doctors that are going to tell you what but they're like, yeah, you have a whatever of a 60-year-old, and I'm like, yeah, you're 26.
But you know what? You're so young too. Like, okay, so I just want to start the podcast with saying, when I was doing my research on you, like obviously I know who you are and I've watched you fight, but when doing this podcast, like I find out more because I'm actually doing research, and I just thought that you were older than me because you had so many fights, and you're much younger than me. You're 32. I'm 35, and so my first question to you out of the gate is, what are your plans as far as MMA go? Like, are you just focused on jiu-jitsu right now? Do you want to get back in the cage?
I mean, I always, when people ask me this question, I always say like, I didn't imagine that my last fight was going to be my last fight. So I we opened the gym, and we were not supposed to do that until we were ready to I guess personally for me, like with my husband, if there's both of us doing it, it's easier where he can still have his career and teach sometimes. I teach also, but it's like, I don't think we can both do it. But then when we had a gym with Venom and they shut it down kind of like mid-pandemic. We were like, man, we have all these students and we can't just like abandon them, you know? So we basically got like thrown into opening a gym. And I just thought like, I don't want to say I don't have any time, but it's been so hard, like to open a business, build a business, and still try to do jiu-jitsu. I mean, like I don't do jiu-jitsu because it's easier for me to like. It is actually harder for me to do jiu-jitsu. I feel like I'm more comfortable fighting MMA than I am doing jiu-jitsu, but it's just been so hard to manage the schedule, like to go and train. You know how it is for MMA. You got to do striking one place, wrestling another place, striking. Everything is in a different place, and it's just been hard for me to do that while running a business. But right now we are getting more help, and now that my husband's also training to make his MMA debut, it's been easier. Like, okay, like now that he's going, it's easier for me to be like, okay, I can go as well.
Yeah.
I would love to fight again. That's the short answer. I don't think that I'm like ready to say, yeah, I'm done, I'm retired. I know that I haven't been active, but I'm still training every day. I'm in the best shape of my life. I still feel like my IQ for fighting in general is going up. So I went this week and went back to do some striking. So we'll see where that kind of leads this year.
That gets me so excited. I would love to see you back in the cage. I really would. I follow you on social media, and it seems like, you're a 6-time, world champion on the ground. Seems like that's covered. You're in great shape. It seems like that's covered, and as long as you get your injuries in check, which there's, other avenues, and we'll talk offline about that as well. Like, you're young. Let's do it, girl. I got to see more Lionheart in the cage because, you really have one of those fighting styles that's just so exciting to watch.
Thank you. I need to hear these things because I sometimes just feel like I've kind of fallen into that role of being like a coach and being a wife and being and like running a business. And I still feel like I have that fire in me to like, I not feel like I do, like every day I'm what, even if it's like being a jiu-jitsu world champion in the gi or winning the Grand Slam in the gi, like these are all things that I want to do. But like, I do feel like that MMA side of me, I'm like, have gotten so far away from it, and I went the other day to striking. And I was like, man, I feel like from the last time to this time, it was even better. And so this morning I was like telling my husband bye before I went to the gym. And I'm like, I think I want to fight again. And he's like, oh no, my heart. He's like, I can't take it, please.
Oh yeah. I just had this. I just had this conversation with my partner last night because we were talking about some coaching situations, and he just looked at me and is like, he's like, I want the best for you because it's hard for me. He's like, I'm being selfish. He's like, if I know you're getting the best coaching, he's like, then it takes some stress off of me as your partner watching you step in there for war. He's like, at least I know you're, the most equipped, the most prepared that you can be. And I'm like, but regardless, it's always going to suck seeing the person you love walk into that cage. But
for sure.
It's like for you and for me, we have a lot of other things going on, but just like with Hinato, it's like that window of fighting is so small and it's closing all the time. And so I even told the listeners on the podcast the other day, it's like, I'm going to have to pull back from this because there's plenty of time to podcast, plenty of time for jiu-jitsu, plenty of time for all these other things. But like our little window is closing and I just don't want to have any regrets. And I know, I know you probably feel the same way.
Yeah, like my career was not ideal. Like, I mean, you get it. People have to remember, like, I started fighting at the time when Dana White was like, there will never be women in the UFC. And like, our only goal was like, okay, I want to go to Strikeforce at the time. Like, okay, now Strike. But then it was like, oh, the weight division's 145. And I was very small for that, And then, so then as things grew, but it's like, okay, in my third or fourth fight, I'm fighting Amanda Nunes. And then the next one after, I'm fighting Raquel Pennington. And I'm like, just a baby, in the sport. And everyone was growing, but it's like when I fought Amanda, I think she was already like 6-0 with 5 or 6 knockouts. And I'm like, but that was the only, and people are like, oh, why did you take those fights? I'm like, those are the only fights I had to take. Yeah. It's not, I had a choice. There was no choice. I fought so many good girls. And I think I just lacked experience. And I also, I wish I could have taken my time, So right now, as my husband's getting ready to start fighting MMA, like luckily, like he's signed with ONE for grappling, so he probably will end up like going that route. I know that it will be hard for him, like with his credentials, to be like fighting in an amateur league. I don't even know if like I want that for him. But with him, I'm like, okay, well, like if you have to go like fighting pro right away, like we need to make sure that like I'm not gonna make the same mistakes with you that I did.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, and he's like, oh man, there's this smoker at the gym. I'm like, no. He's like, but it's just like us sparring. I'm like, then go to sparring.
It's not worth
like,
it.
You're not gonna go to a smoker because it's not the same thing.
Yeah,
what
the heck?
what are like? Does this make sense in your head? You know?
So
just like constant experience already. Like I want to fight. Like I want to fight someone for real. And I'm like, well, you will, but let's make good choices. Let's not go to a smoker and something happens. You know.
Yep. That's so awesome. You know, because the dynamic in your relationship is that you're older than your husband, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so with that, you know, age comes wisdom, and all the things that you went through in your fight career, you can now basically, you know, help him in his path and make sure he doesn't, like you said, do the same mistakes that you did. And one of those things, I did my research, like I said, and I wanted to bring it up, but you basically brought it up right now. It's like in this article, you said one of your greatest regrets was not having managed your MMA career better. And now, is that kind of what you mean by just taking too many fights too soon?
Yes, like I think, like as you said, I was the tough, like I could take, you know, I came forward, I could take a punch, I could give a punch, and people liked seeing that. But I know, especially like in the promotion that I was in, like I was kind of like the stepping stone for people. And I also like I have never made like excuses either, but I'm like, there are some fights that I'm like, did I really lose that fight? You know, like now when I look back at it now, like I watch the fight over and over again, and I'm like, I don't know that I lost that fight, you know, but I would never, this is the first time I've ever publicly said that. I'll never like make an excuse. I've always been like, oh, if I lost, I lost. But I'm like, I know what they were doing with me. It's like, oh, she's a tough fight. She's going to bring a good show. But let's put her to fight. You know what I'm talking about later in my career when I was growing, and I did feel like I was much better. And I'm like, okay, well, I see kind of where I was, you know, like, and I wish I still, you know, even like my husband, he made that comment, and he's never ever like said anything like that. He's always super encouraging, but I think like he is nervous about it. But he always tells me, he's like, Raquel, like you haven't even like been able to perform at your potential in jiu-jitsu or in MMA. It's like the person that you are in the gym, you know, it's like if we like little by little, like you're being able to translate it like in competition, like especially for jiu-jitsu, or even like the last time that I fought MMA, I still think I had a great performance, but you know, that was like me not having fought for 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, so I think like the fighter that I am, I haven't even been able to show like how skilled I am, if that makes sense.
Of course
so
it does.
I would love to be able to do that. Like I would love to be able to perform once, or you know, I don't know, just be able to perform to like the best of my ability. Like I haven't even been do that yet.
Yeah, I understand. You know, this is my podcast, so all the listeners know about my situation, but you know, I'm open about my sobriety. You know, I wasn't taking things seriously. I would train hard, but you're not at your true best if you're not recovering and you're not doing everything right. And so now it's like, you know, we may have these dings and we may be a little older, but I really feel that we are in our prime, you know, like some of these younger girls, they are durable, they're tough, but they don't know what the fuck they're getting into. They don't know what it's like to be in the third round on the, you know, having to come back, and you know, like it's just, we 100%. Have that inside of us, you know, and we're battle tested now. And and it's just about lining up all the other shit that we have in our lives. And you know, only you know when the right time is, but God, I found out you were 32 and I'm like, oh, she's got to get back in there.
That because I feel like oh man, 32, like every time, like every year I'm like, oh my gosh, but like I guess like 32 is still, I mean, I feel amazing, you know, that's the truth. Like I am the best athlete I've ever been, but when you think about 32 and there's people getting into UFC at 17, you know, like
I know. But we, like I said, it's like we possess some qualities that those girls just won't get in for years and years.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. And I actually didn't know that your origin story is that your father was a big name fighter in Hawaii. Could you give us kind of like the brief synopsis of that? Because it's so cool.
Yeah, so my dad, like locally, like he's well known locally, but he was like the first, like people will say that he's the first MMA fighter from Hawaii because it's kind of true. Like the first event that they ever held in Hawaii, I'm pretty sure that there were two. It was called Future Brawl. So it was before. I mean, you're probably familiar with Super Brawl. So like it was like a big show back in the day where even like like Anderson Silva, like Robbie Lawler.
Oh,
I
wow.
think like when they were that, and then it became like Elite XC, I believe, and then
Okay.
yeah. Anyways, but my dad fought on the very first event ever held in Hawaii. It was in a strip club. Can you hear me? Too loud?
There's a little background noise, but I can hear you.
You can hear me, okay? And it was like in a strip club, and they had like a 8-man bracket. So he fought 3 times in a night.
Wow.
And there was no rules, no gloves, nothing. I think the only rule was that you couldn't poke the eyes and you couldn't fish hook.
Probably no weight classes either, huh?
No. So
Old
he knocked
school.
the guys, and I think he did like 1 arm bar, and he won like the first ever event held in Hawaii. I want to say there were 2 of those Future Bras, and he won the second one as well. And then it became like Super Bra, and it started becoming like a big event in Hawaii.
What's your father's
So
name?
his name is David Pa'aluhi, but then he also went by Kavika.
Okay.
So I want to say that he's like 11-1.
Wow.
Like he's got a pretty impressive record as well.
Dang. And impressive for fighting guys out of your weight class.
Yes. Yeah.
When-
I mean,
when-
this was like back in the day, you know? So like the reason why he kind of stopped was because my parents like divorced, and he was like taking care of us for a while. Like the 4 of us were living with him, and he kind of just, it just became like second on the list of things to do, you know? So I wish that we got to see more of him because he is amazing. Like if when this is done, go, you can go, he's got some videos on YouTube. He's pretty mean. Then you'll understand where I get it from.
I love that. Yeah. And so I know that probably was the reason you got started,
Yeah.
But, I want to talk a little bit about the sex and violence aspect of the podcast. And
Yeah.
I love finding out kind of the relationship dynamic with parents, especially, you're Hawaiian. I'm not familiar with a lot of the Hawaiian culture. And so I'm wondering, did your mom and your dad have the talk with you about love and romance and sex, or was it not spoke about kind of?
I mean, I don't think my parents ever had like a specific, especially because around that time is when they were going through the divorce. But like my mom and my dad was always very open about, I feel like they're always very open about sex and stuff in general, like especially more so my mom. I think as we were like, after my parents split and we were living with my mom, she always kind of talked to us about those things, but not so much my dad. I think only now as in, when I turned 18, it was kind of funny because I went and wrestled for a year in high school, and then I came back. And I was supposed to go back and wrestle, and some things happened. So that's why I started fighting MMA, because my dad was like, well, if you're not going back to school, if you're not going back to wrestle, like you need to figure out what you're going to do. Okay. So I started working construction with him because that was like the only job that, like, I was like, okay, I need a job. I need to make money. So he got me a job working construction with him. And then he was like, well, you need to figure out like what you're going to do. And I was like, well, I kind of been thinking about fighting MMA. He's like, well, if you want to fight MMA, like you need to make a decision right now. Like that's how Hawaiian parents usually are. Like my dad's like a very like old school, like, he still looks at me and I'm like this, as an adult,
Yeah.
But, so then he basically like made me kind of make like a 10-year plan. And I literally I think I told him I wanted to fight in August, and I had my first fight in November. Yeah. So it was like, he was like, well, you need to make a plan. You need to stick to it. What are you going to do? You need to figure it out. Like you're not going back to college. That's done. So what are you going to do?
Wow. I love that. Like that's, having a parent like tell you that you need to make plans because, goals and dreams don't just fucking happen. You have to map them out and plan them out. And so, wow, what a badass move by your dad.
So, but during that time when I was like working with him and, now I'm like 18, turning 19, he was way more open with me about those things, like as an adult. But like when I was a kid, no. My mom, I feel like through my teenage years and stuff, she was, but not so much when I was, my dad, not so much when I was a teen.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you're married to Hanato now. 7 years?
We're making 7 years this year, yes.
Okay. I want to know, pre-Hanato, how has dating changed? Because we're in our 30s now, and I love asking this question. Yeah. How was dating different for you in your 20s versus your 30s?
Well, so I met Hinato when I was 25.
Okay.
So I was quite young already. When you say dating, like how was it like meeting people and stuff?
Yeah,
Or,
I mean, so
or
I just know that the way that I conducted myself, in my early teens was very different than
oh
when in my
yeah.
early 20s, and it's very
Yeah.
different now in my
Yeah.
30s.
No, for
Yeah.
sure. But no, for sure. I think offline, you and I kind of talked about this over the phone was that like it's like dating now is so hard, right? Like I'm so glad that I'm not single because I'm like, man, I would not be able to like live in the world that it is now. But I remember like before Hinato, like it was just in that age where it was still kind of weird to like meet someone online.
Yeah.
But it was like it's so hard, like especially being in Hawaii, it's like the area is so small, so it's kind of like that weird, like, oh, how do you meet people? Like, oh, through Instagram or
Yeah.
through, and it's like you see these people all the time, but you don't know how to talk. And it was like I feel like when I think about that, it was like, man, it was so immature. Like I can't believe like that's how we had to meet people or like not even meet people, talk to people.
Yeah.
It was like through Instagram or through Facebook or whatever it was. But yeah,
But now
dating
it's so much more common because you're right. When you were 25, I was, probably 27, somewhere around there, whatever math. But,
yeah.
it's like at that point, it was like, oh, online dating. And now it's so normal.
Yeah.
And, when you were speaking right now, I forgot I had another Hawaiian fighter on, Sumiko Inaba. Are you familiar with her?
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, when you're on an island, she's like, as you get older, the dating pool just shrinks.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, yeah. Like,
Yeah, no,
so
for sure.
she was like, you just run into some issues of like, who the hell am I going to date?
Yeah.
Like,
And another thing too is like people and I can't remember recently someone was talking to me about this and they were like, man, Hawaiians like they find their person when they're young and they just stay with them. And it's true. Like a lot of my friends are married to their high school sweethearts. Like now we're 32 and they've been with him. Like my brother, for instance, he's been with his wife since he was 15. He's 33 now. So like they've been together longer than they've been apart.
what do you think
know?
that's from? Like, is there something in Hawaiian culture? I mean, you guys are like penguins. You guys mate for life.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. But also that thing of like it's so small. So it's like, okay, so I feel like you kind of just find your person and you kind of just stay with them.
Yeah.
And I also feel like Hawaiian families are very close. So like as soon as they got together and they were 15, it was like their family became my family. So like your families just become super close and like her sisters felt like my sisters. And like, I mean, now that I live away, it's a little harder, but it's like, this last trip I went home in November, I saw my brother's wife, his sister. And it's like I went to her restaurant and she took care of us. And it's just like I've seen her every day since, over the last 10 years. But over the last 10 years, I've barely seen her. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the aspect there, like with that, is just like you kind of just like, oh, well, there's 10 people. That's my person. We just stay together forever.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, regardless, you guys are been married for 7 years. You're making it work. You're happy. You're opening businesses together, competing together. So yeah, you found your penguin. You're happy.
Yes,
I love
did.
it.
And I didn't think that because I had like one serious boyfriend before him. And then I kind of dated someone on and off for like a year. But I think that I always had this idea of like wanting to do something more. So I didn't ever want to settle down in Hawaii. Like I didn't want to stay there with someone and like not be able to just leave if I wanted to leave. But then there was also that aspect like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, why is everyone with someone and I'm not? 'Cause
You
I was
felt
always,
that pressure early on?
oh yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Like, I mean, even in intermediate, like I think that I think I'm also a bigger girl. So a lot of like what they liked was like, the petite, small girls. And I was always like, like a little
Welcome
bit
to my life.
It's like towering over everyone, like much taller too. So I think that I just wasn't like wanted as much. And as I started, I was like, man, all my friends, like even in high school, my friends were like with their boyfriends for like 3-4 years, like throughout in high school, and some of them are married now. And I'm like, man, what's going on? But I mean, thank God.
Yeah. So you were in Hawaii when you met Hinato?
No, I was in Vegas.
Okay.
So I moved here in 2014, and then I actually met him in 2015 because he would come here twice a year to train, and then we started dating in 2016.
Yeah, I read, I feel like a stalker, but I read this awesome story about you, how you were like, basically like just moved from Hawaii with like a fucking bag and like just ready to be an MMA fighter and didn't know anybody. I was like, this girl's got the fire, like that kind of like motivation and like risk taking just to fulfill your dreams is like, that's championship mentality. I love that.
Thank you. And I mean, not to say that that was like easy. And I feel like that was very out of like the ordinary for me, because I am very, like, it's hard for me to deal with not deal with change. It's hard for me to like make changes. Like nowadays it's much easier, but still, like, I mean, change is hard for everyone. It's like I was literally like at home with nothing. So I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to make this work. But I'm like, I can have nothing here. I can have nothing there. You know?
Yeah. At least I'm chasing a dream somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. So do you guys have like a cute meet story, or was it just in the gym on the mat?
Well, I mean, how we kind of started dating is like a very long story shorter. He was 19 at the time, and it's kind of ironic because he came here looking for something more. So he's a student of his father's. He's been training since he was like 8 years old. And at the time he was 19, he was going to turn 20 soon. But he was kind of like hitting that wall, like where he was always like at the major tournaments, like the World Championships, the Pan Ams, was always like second place, third place, second place, third place, like, or, you know, there's like 5 matches and it's only the quarterfinals still, and he like gets out in the quarterfinals, and he kind of was like, man, I need something different. And he was kind of known at the time as like a purple and a brown belt, because he fought like a lot of good guys on the circuit. So then they ended up that year, that was in March of 2016, he was coming for the Pan Ams, and he was planning to stay, but he was planning to leave our team. So he wasn't going to stay in our association. And like a long story short, my coach at the time kind of saw that something was going on, because they saw like some other well-known coaches talking to him at the tournament.
Oh, okay.
So they asked him, and he was like, hey, what's going on? Like, so he told me, saying, I was planning to leave the team. And they're like, he basically asked him to stay. And he's like, hey, give me a chance. Like, come to Las Vegas. You can stay with me up into the Worlds. I can, coach you. I can help you. So that was kind of how he ended up here.
Okay.
And I knew that there was 2 boys, there was him and someone else. And I knew them from the previous year. So I was like, oh, they're here. I think that they're staying at Roberts. And he had just bought a new house. So I knew there was nothing in the house, because they were literally just moving everything there. So I was kind of like, oh man, like, I don't even know if they've got Wi-Fi set up. Like, I don't know if there's even furniture in there. So after one of the trainings, I was kind of like, hey, do you guys want to go hang out? Mm-hmm. One of the other guys was off from work. So I'm like, oh, let's go eat and like go to the jacuzzi or something. Yeah. So a bunch of us did that. I think it might have been like on a Wednesday or something. And honestly, like, I was not, he'll joke and say like I was trying to like find a way in, but I was actually kind of like in and out, like dating someone at the time. Mm-hmm. But I was like on the out, where I was like it was like 1 year, and it was not that it was an unhealthy relationship, but it was like he had so much baggage, and it was like, oh, sometimes we'd kind of like, okay, we need to take a break, like you need to figure shit out, and then we start dating again, and I need to take a break, like figure shit out. So I was kind of in that place where I'm like, I think I'm over this. Yeah. So when we went to hang out, it was really just me being like, oh man, these poor boys, like they're here. And I think that I don't even know if the heat is on in the where they're staying, So then we all just went to like eat and hang out. And of course, like we're in the jacuzzi, and one of my other girlfriends came, and she's kind of like at the time like more brave about talking about things. So she's like talking about her sex life. So like the whole sex topic started coming up, I'm kind of like quiet and just listening. And then he says something, and I kind of was like, at the time, again, I'm like kind of sick of where I was at with my like relationship at the time. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was already thinking of like, man, like I've given this guy like a year of my life, and it's not going anywhere. And I was like, I kind of want to have some fun, So then he starts like saying all these things, and I'm like, man, here's this like 19-year-old kid that's going to be here for 3 months. And I'm like, like, like the truth. And I was like, yeah, like I've been freaking like what is the word, like I've been faithful to this guy for 1 year, so then we kind of were just like making little like flirting a little back and forth, and I was like, oh, okay. So like the funny story is we went up, he at the time he can speak very good English. Like if you speak to him, like he has very, very good English. So he's walking in now, I hear this story. He loves telling this story because it's different than my version. But he at the time he didn't speak like great English. Okay. But it was still pretty good. Like he had taken 4 years of English. So we're sitting in. He's like, I had to go teach class. I'm like, hey, I need to go teach class. Can I take a shower? I asked my friend, can I go take a shower? And he's like, oh, do you want to take an economy shower? And I'm like, oh, what? He's like, yeah, economy shower. But like for him in English, that made sense. It's like economy shower. Like let's just save water. And I was like, okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm like, and I was like, yeah, sure. But like for me, that was being very brave to say. Like at
Yeah.
that time, I was like, very shy. Like I wouldn't even like like want people seeing me naked or.
Yeah.
But I was just like, sure, because I knew he wouldn't do it. So we
Hmm.
go upstairs. I go and take a shower. I didn't know that outside he was trying to come into the shower. My friend's like, "What are you doing? You're crazy." He's like, "What? She said I could take a shower with her." And but he didn't end up coming in because then he got scared. And his friend was like, "Hey, she's actually dating someone. Like she's dating so and so." And he's like, "Oh shit. Okay, I didn't know." So anyways, I come out and our other friend goes to take a shower. We're sitting on the couch and we're just kind of like talking and stuff. He claims that I started rubbing his leg with my foot. Like I don't remember that at all, but he tells this story. He's like, "Oh, yeah, she started rubbing my leg with her foot." I'm like, "That ever happened?" I'm like, "That absolutely never happened. But the truth is, like, I think like there was so much like tension being built up because it was like over the last hour or 2 hours, we're like, saying all these little things, and then finally, I think his friend kind of got the hint, so he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go outside real quick and grab my clothes." It was very immature. Like when I think about it now, I'm like, but yeah, I basically just like attacked him on the couch, and I
I
was
love
like,
it.
yeah, and then after that, literally been inseparable since.
I love
So
that. Wow.
yeah,
You've got, how long were you guys dating before you got married?
3 months.
Whoa.
Yeah, three
I
months,
mean,
like a little over 3 months, because basically like so after that first I think it was Wednesday, we basically all did the same thing the next day because my friend that we were at the jacuzzi at was like Wednesday and Thursday he was off, so we did the same thing on Thursday, and then on Friday night we hung out, and then basically by Saturday he was like living with me, like he never left. So I think the mistake we made is we were like staying up until 4 o'clock. And like, again, he was like coming here for something better. And I was here for something better too. So, I was 25, he was 19. We were very young and we just had all these dreams and ambitions. And we were just up till 4 o'clock in the morning talking about all this stuff. And I was like, man, that was our mistake. It's like we started talking. So then when it was time for him to go back to Brazil, at the time they were a little bit more stricter, and he like you were required to have like a plane ticket that was going back.
okay.
And he basically he could stay for 6 months. That was his visa. Like he could stay for up to 6 months. But we were kind of nervous because we were like, man, like what if you go back and they don't let you come back because you overstayed like on, I think it's like an I-94 or something. Like you said you were coming back on this date and you didn't come back, and you stayed longer than you were supposed to. And I was also like, oh, what if you go back and you don't have money to come back? Like, or
Yeah.
maybe I don't see you until next March, that's 9 months from now.
Okay.
So then, before the Worlds, we were talking about like getting married. It's like, oh, why don't we just get married so that you can stay here? And yeah, and it kind of sounds crazy again. Like when I talk about me packing up my bags and moving, or me like doing that, just coming and being like, oh yeah, let's get married. Like at the time it was very unlike me, like very, very unlike me. But I knew that he was the one for me. Like it was when so I ended up just, I was like, well, I'm going to tell, like, we didn't tell his dad, his dad's his coach. His dad was thinking like, oh, my son's going to go to the Pan Ams and come back with me. And then now he wants to stay for 3 months. And then he's just never going to come back,
Yeah.
He's the only one that does jujitsu. His dad, like that's his dad's full-time job. He has a gym in Brazil, and it actually does very well. And yeah, so then when we went to the Worlds after, he actually won that year. That was the first year he won. So for him, he was like, this is it. Like, you're the difference. You're the person that, like, you are the difference in my life. Like, like, we're going to get, that's it. So I was like, oh, we need to tell your dad that you're not coming home. So then I was like, I learned how to ask to marry his son in Portuguese. Like, not that I was asking.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
Basically asking like, hey, like we're going to get married and he's going to stay here. And his dad was like, like, of course, like we've been together for 3 months. Like that's like, when I think about it now, I'm like, why didn't anyone tell us that we were crazy? But I think like if you saw us together, you knew that it just made sense. Because then I ended up taking him home after like the next week. I took him home to Hawaii, and my family just loved him. Like they absolutely loved him. Yeah. So then I kind of told some of them like, hey, we're going to get married. I didn't tell my dad. I was too scared to tell my dad. But then yeah, it's kind of becoming a long story. But yeah, so then I came back and a couple of weeks later we got married.
I love that. Holy
Yeah.
crap. I love that so much. And, that just, you hear people, oh, we got married for the visa or whatever it is, right? And
Yeah.
you never hear that it works out long term. You just
Oh yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
But you guys have. And so it's
Yeah.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
great. I love that so much. I, you also don't hear about the age difference.
Yeah.
You do sometimes with an older guy, but it's usually not the female that's older. How's the
Yeah.
age difference ever, what are the benefits and what are some of the downsides of that age gap? Because it's 6 years, right?
6 years, yeah. So, I mean, in the beginning, it was hard because not only was there an age difference, but there was also like a cultural difference. There
Oh,
was a little
yeah.
language barrier. There was, I'm a woman, he's a man. Like
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
difference in general. So I feel like that first year of being together was hard. I don't want to say it was hard. Like there was never like a point in our marriage, like not even once, where you're like, oh, this is not what we want. Like we got married to be in this forever, and we have a very I will like being honest, like we have a very healthy and very happy relationship, but it's not without work.
Of
Like work
course.
is like talking a lot, figuring it out, like figuring out what works with each other. Like we do like communicate a lot, but the age difference, I feel like it was never really a factor for us because he is very mature. Because you got to imagine, like he was basically thrown into like the role of being like a leader and a head coach at the age of 22. So it's like he's got like we're responsible for like 150, 160 people, and even I always think it's funny because he's at 22 is like we have students that are like lieutenant colonels, that are doctors, that are lawyers, that are like these people that are like so experienced in life, and they're all like looking to him for guidance
Yeah.
for on the mats, but in other things too, so he is very mature. Like not to say that he's not immature because like I feel like all men like their children forever.
Yeah.
But he's very mature, so I don't feel like I ever felt that age difference. But there is like like little things, like I am I do get much more tired fast, where I'm like, oh, I just want to hang out at home, where he's still like he needs to do something fun every single day. Like
Yeah.
so he'll be training all day long, and he really is one of those people that like he is the last person on the mat. He does the most. Like when I think that I've trained like harder than anyone else, like he's probably trained way harder than I have. But he's like, oh, it's like 8:30. We finally closed the gym. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go to the skate park. I'm gonna go skate. Like he has to do something fun every day. Where it's hard for me because I'm like, oh, in my spare time, I want to take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's that 20-year-old
So,
mentality, that 20-year-old energy.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, just that. Like he does have a lot more energy than I do. So I mean, even your thing is called sex and violence. So even that, like keeping up with him as a 19, 20, 21, 22,
Yeah.
23,
I'm
it's
sure.
just six is at 19. So I'm like, I'm getting old, man.
Yeah. I mean, no, you're not. You're not getting old at all. I feel like we always feel like we're getting old because we gauge our age on like a fighting scale, right?
Yeah.
Like we're older in fighting, but like in life, we're so fucking young. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh,
My part,
very, yeah.
my partner's mom the other day looked at him. He's younger than I am as well. And he just turned 33, and his mom was like, you're such a baby. You just started your
Yeah.
life. You just started your life. And when you hear that from like an older person, it puts it in perspective. You're like, oh yeah, we have so much life to live. And for you, so many more fights. So many more fights.
Yeah, for sure. Because also, I'm like, when I think about my parents, like my parents were like my age with 4 kids. So when I put it into perspective like that, I'm like, man, I used to think of my parents when I was, younger, and I'm like, man, they're so old, and and when really they were not. Like they were also children raising children.
Yeah.
So I think
So
that also, like, oh man, at 30 something, like, man, I'm so old, but it's true. Like it's 100% true. Like we are very young still.
of course. And so as far as like age and all that goes, I got to ask because you mentioned like cultural difference, you're Hawaiian, he's Brazilian. And I'm also wondering, you guys are married, but you're two elite level athletes and you're a female. So like if children come, does the talk of children
Yeah.
ever come into play? Yeah.
So that's where what I'm kind of getting ready for. So we were supposed to be trying, like, I kind of said, like, okay, at the end of last year, that was when I kind of wanted to start trying for kids. And then I asked him, I was like, I would like to have one more season, like this year and maybe like the first half of next year, depending how the results are. Again, now I've got this injury that I'm like, oh, You know, like it is like the last couple of weeks that I've been dealing with all of this. So I'm like, man, I can see a way out now. Like I do see an after, which I'm also preparing for too, but he's been ready to be a dad for forever. Like, you know how there's just women that know they want to be a mom. I've never been that. I don't not want children, but like I've never wanted children, but I've never not wanted children. So I just had like no real feeling about it. But he's one of those that like he knows he wants children. Like he is like dying to be a dad. So I mean, he's patient and he knows like I have some things I want to do first, but I think within like the next like a year and a half or so, 2 years, I should probably have a little belly on me soon.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So big decisions coming up, right? I mean, first and foremost, got to get as healthy as you can just for life and longevity, right? And then, I mean, if you do decide to get back in the cage, that would be amazing. But you also, you're 32. It's just.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like it all, like I've waited this long. So if I do maybe this year, I'm like, oh, I want to fight, and I another fight or 2 or 3 or whatever it is. Then obviously like we'll wait. Like I think, the latest I want to start having kids is maybe like 35.
Yeah.
Not that just, I just did like all my blood work and all that stuff and everything's pretty good. So I think I'm like in a pretty good position to wait a little bit longer, but just, being able to still enjoy it and not feel like, like, I don't know. I waited this long so I could wait another year,
For sure.
If I want to do more.
You and Hanato have already done some crazy things together, but I love asking the question because fighters were just crazy in general. What's either the craziest thing you've done for love or maybe the most romantic? I don't know if you're like a romantic or not.
Oh, marry someone after 3 months to keep
That is romantic and crazy at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably the craziest thing I've ever done for love because 3 months, we got married after 3 months. Like, I don't know that there's anything that tops that.
No. Is there anything that you would have changed?
No, not at all.
Nothing?
No, not at all. Honestly, like it sounds like when people say these, like, are you sure though? Like we have like a very great relationship and I love our story. I
love it so much because it's so similar. Not the age and and getting married and all that, but my partner's also a black belt. I'm competing. He does jujitsu as well. So I want to know like what kind of issues, good or bad, actually have come up. Like because you said it's hard for two people to be kind of the star of the show, right? It's a very selfish sport. That anyone who's ever fought, they understand that you don't want to be selfish, but you have to be selfish, right? Yeah, so how do you navigate that with Hanato, like you said, who's about to make his pro debut, but you may want to?
Yeah, and it's hard because like I'm naturally a nurturer. Like even with my friends, I'm a pusher. I like want to take care of everyone, and I'm very much so that way with Hanato. And I realized like a couple of years ago, like I was putting so much stress on myself to like take care of everything when no one ever asked that of me. So I was like, what? Like, why am I putting all this pressure on me to like make sure that he's got 3 meals on the table every day and a coffee in the morning and the evening and his clothes are washed and so like I mean, and that's also just a personal thing that I had to work through where like everything doesn't have to be perfect. Like I can like right now behind me it's there's a pile of clothes and there, there's gis that's been folded all week that I haven't taken to the gym and like I really had to like let go and realize like if I want to be able to still be an athlete and be like training how I want to train and being resting how I want to rest, recover how I want to recover. Like I do need to make more time for myself, and the funny thing is like I did start putting myself first and I have this conversation with a lot of like my friends too. I'm like, nothing really changed. I still do a lot of the same things except for like little things. Like I stopped making his breakfast because that morning time is for me now. Like I go and like sometimes I still will make his coffee or make his food, but it's like he never was like, oh, you don't make me breakfast anymore. Yeah. Like it was such like a smooth transition where he didn't even miss it. He just was like, oh, okay, well, she does her own thing in the morning. Now I'm responsible for breakfast, you know, or me just being vocal, like, hey, can you make sure like when you bring your clothes in, like put it in the wash, like if you're gonna, and then he does everything without complaining. So it's just that like really like teamwork. When I know like people say like, teamwork makes the dream work. But I'm like, we really are a team that has to work together. And I know like last year, like one thing I didn't really like was that I know that I did the ADCC trials and it was like the 60 and under. So it was very hard for me to make that weight. So basically for like 3 months, I was in such an intense weight cutting and like training to make the weight. You know, it wasn't even about like being prepared for the tournament. Like I was prepared for the tournament 3 months before, but I think by the end I was like under 10% body fat. And it was like, you know, it was a 24-hour-a-day job just to make the weight.
Yeah.
And basically like didn't do anything for the first half of the year so that I could. And I think that was the first time that he kind of stopped everything for me. And then after that first half of the year, I kind of stopped everything for him because he made his one debut and then he had ADCC, which were like two really big things. And I kind of stopped for him to support him and teach and to make sure like if he needed to be in California training, he could leave and I would run the business. So then at the end of the year, I had this conversation. It was like, look, I have one more season left. And I'm like, you have the contract with one, you want to make your MMA debut. And I was like, I don't want it to be like this where we feel like we need to stop to support the other person. I'm like, we don't have to, like, we never did that before, you know, but there was always like one person having to support more this time and the other person having to support that time. And I was like, this year I want to do all the major tournaments. So like next week I was supposed to be in Paris competing in the Europeans, but then again I got injured. So I'm out of that. But like I bought the ticket. I'm like, and he kept asking, do you want me to go? I'm like, no, I don't. Because what happens is you come with me for a week or a week and a half, and then you have to come back, and then it's like a week of being jet lagged, out of your schedule.
Routine.
I was like, so then you basically have to restart all over again. And like you did like 2.5 weeks, not really doing anything. And so, you know, I had this conversation like, look, I'm going to go. If you can come, if it fits into your schedule, you come. Same thing for me. Like if it fits into your schedule that I go to Europe or go to like to Singapore with you or to wherever you're competing at in Asia, I'll go. And we kind of was like, okay, like that works, you know, because it doesn't mean that I don't care about him or he doesn't care about me or that his goals are more important than mine. It's just like, we have to be able to do that to be successful. Now we have people who can help us to run the gym. So it's like, we don't really have to worry about that if we have to leave, but we do need to make sure that we're like again, he's 26, I'm 32. I've got like a few more years left, you know, at most.
Yeah.
So I can't, like, I don't want to stop anymore. I don't want to wait. Not that he ever asked me, he never asked me. I did that to myself, but it's like, okay, like the last 6 months of the year, I kind of spent taking care of the gym and making sure that he's doing what he needs to do, but I'm not making sure I'm doing what I need to do.
That makes total sense to me because just like you said, it's a personality type. Like that's you probably you enjoy doing that. You enjoy that. Yeah. And so what you had to do was make yourself a priority so that you knew that you were getting what you needed. And it's not like you don't make him a priority, but that just makes total sense because I'm very much the same way with my partner. And, you know, I've said it on the podcast. It's like there's two ways of thinking. It's better to be single and in the prime of your competing, you know, or it's better to have a partner, someone who loves and supports you. And it can go either way, but it's how you deal with it, right? Because you can have a partner and give too much of yourself to that person. So it's not like they're taking away. You're taking yourself away from, you know, your quality time that you need and whatnot. So that makes sense to me 100%. And that's actually hard when you love someone so fucking much. You want to make sure they have their coffee, that they have food in their belly, you know, that they didn't forget this, that they did, you know, but then at the same time, you're like, okay, there's only so many hours in a day and you have to make sure you give the time to yourself as well, right?
Yeah. So I feel like we've been like meeting in the middle, like on a lot of things where I was like very extreme. And again, like literally just asking him, like, I feel like men, a lot of times you have to kind of guide them like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Like, but for him, it's like he might not think of doing it on his own, but he'll never complain. And it's, you know, sometimes he'll check in with me like, hey, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you need from me? You know, and I think it too. And again, this is like 7 years of being together.
Of course.
You know, so.
And sometimes I feel like it may be hard for our like fighters to ask for help, right?
Oh, yes. That's me.
So it's like learning to be like, can you please do this? I can do it, but it would help me out if you could do it too.
No, for sure. Yeah. That is something that I'm working on. It's like asking for help with everything. Because you know, you have this giant list of things you need to get done and you can't, no, I can do it all.
Yeah, I bet you carry all the groceries in one haul.
Yeah, and he doesn't like that either. So he's like, do some stuff. And I'm like, no, I got it. You get the rest. And he's like coming away with two things looking at me like.
Yeah. That's a fighter girl thing for sure.
He really like he is like, when you asked what is the craziest thing he did for love, or if I'm a romantic, like he's very much a romantic.
Oh, he is?
And he really likes being like, oh, like he wants to carry everything, or he wants to do everything, or he's very much like that. And I'm also like, I want to carry everything too, like this is a workout, everything's a workout.
What are some of the physical characteristics and then also personality traits that like really attracted you to Hanato?
Physically, I feel like when I watch, because if you've ever watched him do jiu-jitsu, like he has such a dynamic style. And I feel like that was the thing that I was like, oh my gosh, like it was different, So even just like
such a fighter girl response. I'm like, what did you think was hot? You were like, oh, he's so good at jiu-jitsu. Like, what?
But it's that like when you say physical, I feel like he like watching him even just train, it's like an experience. Like he, like they did this whole documentary about him on Full Grappling a couple of years ago, and they talked about how like he was the guy that really started like putting like all that crazy stuff. He was like the first guy to do like a backflip in a match, and he, so it's like he's very dynamic, and I really like that about him. But if I have to choose like a thing about him, like I really like that he's like, which is funny, right, as a fighter, but he has such a like a lean body type, or he's like tall. He's not extremely tall, but he's like long, so I like how long his arms are, and like I don't know how to explain it, but he's long. It's like whenever I look at his arms and stuff, I'm like, oh, like he just has, and he also has very long eyelashes and like big eyes. Like I love that. And then personality wise, I love that he's very he's very funny. He's actually very funny. He's always making like jokes, and but like one thing that I've always been attracted to is that he's I don't know what the word is. Like I always say like situationally intelligent. Like he knows how to be with anyone. Like you can put him with like he's very mature, but he's very like if he's talking to a doctor, if he's talking in front of a room of people, like he can really like capture like an audience, but he can also like he knows how to be with different people. Not that it's a different personality or but it's just like if he's talking to someone who's very educated, like he can hold a conversation with them, and he's very intelligent himself. Or if he's just with the boys, he's very funny and relaxed and laid back. But I love that he's like situationally intelligent, because it can be like, everyone's got that friend that you're afraid to like take around people because they're gonna and I'm
we do.
Like I've never felt like, even when he was 19, I was never like embarrassed to take him home, because I knew that he would be fine. Like he
knows how to adapt and read the room, and he understands like what crowd he's hanging out with. And
that's one thing that I've always like been super like attracted to about him, which is probably like this in the other room, like like what a thing to say.
So you guys are still actively competing. He's in his 20s, so he's got the drive. You know what I mean? Do you guys have any rituals or kind of rules? Do you guys abstain from sex before competition? It's always kind of like a big one that I like asking.
Yeah, I feel like that he went through a phase where he was like, no, we can't do that. Like I didn't, not that I didn't believe in it, but I was like, man, I've been doing this for so long. Like I don't really think about it. But I do know like he went through a phase too where, and again, like whenever we would travel for him to go compete, it's like, again, we've been teaching now for 4 years. So it's like, that was literally like the only time that we had like away from the students, away from the dogs, away from our routines, where we're like, oh, we're in a hotel room, and like, the mood is right, not tired and stressed out and like having to go train. And like, I feel like we always like wanted to have sex, but then there was a time where he was like, no, like, but I can't come because I want to save that for tomorrow. So it's like that, like, okay, let's do all this stuff, but not get to that part.
That seems torture though.
But, I think that he still feels like, I think personally, he probably does know, like if he doesn't, he feels better. So, for me, I don't really care.
You don't have a personal preference, but everyone has, their own thing. And I always say it on here. It's like, if you think that not having sex makes you better, then psychologically it probably does,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
If you think it doesn't matter, then it probably doesn't matter. You're probably just going to compete the same way you would. Okay. All right. Is there any advice that you would give yourself now that you know what you know about fighting and love and romance, I love asking kind of like the fighting advice, but also what would you tell younger Raquel about love and yourself and dating and whatnot?
Someone actually asked me this. I can't remember when but I basically like what I felt like at the time. I said that like you're gonna be okay.
Oh,
I was like you're gonna be okay, because I mean, coming from me again, like I moved here with absolutely nothing, and even before I came here, I left because I had nothing going on there, and I had hit like this really like rock bottom, like yeah, like really, I before I came here, I was like at rock bottom. Like not to say that, but it was like the family I was working for got divorced, so I lost my job, and then like some stuff happened, so I ended up leaving my team. And then my grandpa passed away, and there were like a bunch of like every single month, like something big was happening, and that's what kind of led me here. And just that, or even like how I said, like how I was never the one. Like all my friends always had people, and I didn't have anyone. And you just kind of say like, oh, what's going on? So I was like, I would tell myself, like my younger self, like you're gonna be okay. Like everything is gonna like this, exactly how your life is supposed to be.
Yeah, I love that so much, and hopefully, yeah. I mean, looking back now, I think that's great advice for any young person,
Yeah.
We're so stressed about what's going to happen in the future. It's actually hard to enjoy the present, right?
For sure. I feel like I have a couple of friends right now that, I mean, a lot of my friends are younger than I am. And I feel like I've taken on like a very mom role with them, where I always had like a lot of women that mothered me. And I kind of like tell them, like, dude, like, you're going to be okay. Like, stop stressing out. Like, it's good.
Yeah.
I promise. Gonna be fine. Like, take it from the old woman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny how we're the old women in the gym now. I'm like, I was the young, like talented, up and coming one. I remember those days. Oh damn, I'm the veteran.
I know. I'm waiting for the day when someone young walks in and I'm like, oh, I used to be young once,
I honestly, I'm not there yet. Like I see the young girls and I'm just so happy for the sport.
Oh yeah.
You know?
No,
but
same. But I like, like when there's those uncles that are like, yeah, back in my day.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
I can't wait till that's me, They come in, I'm like, yeah, I used to be young once. I used to be able to do that.
And there's also gonna be like some kind of like a sigh of relief when we do just be like, I'm fucking done, because it's like, I don't even know if I truly enjoy my life, because it's always like in the back of my mind, like this time ticking down and like the opportunities.
Do you know? Thank you for saying that. It literally is a time ticking, like literally every single day. I can literally hear it. I talk about it every day. I'm like, okay, it's February, now it's March, now it's December.
Yep.
There went another year,
But I mean, at the end of the day, I know that we're both doing everything that we can. And that's just excess thoughts that if our 42-year-old selves could talk to us, we'd probably tell ourselves, you're going to be okay.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be okay, ladies. Do you have a pet peeve in the bedroom? This is always a funny one because we've had the answer from bad breath all the way to, a guy sticking in the back door without asking, which is a funny one, but it does happen.
Yeah. I don't really have a pet peeve. Like, it's not like he does anything. I mean, he knows, we've been together so long now that he does. But I have this thing where if I'm on bottom and he does this to my head, like I'm like hit his head, like, I don't like that pressure on my head.
Like a neck crank kind of?
I don't know, like if he's like kind of just like trying to hug me, but he's like putting too much pressure on my head. I think that's like the only thing that I've ever like.
Sometimes in bed, like obviously my partner is a black belt as well, and like they'll just do certain things and like they're using the same grip that they would like, and I'm like, I know this is sex, but it feels like you're doing jujitsu on it. And then I always like to ask also, it's like we have a lot of alphas, right? Alpha females, alpha males on this show. And sometimes the bedroom is a place where if you are an alpha, you can kind of like let your guard down. Yeah. Do you find yourself being just as dominant in the bedroom, or is it a place where you can actually be a little bit more submissive?
I think I am more submissive. We always kind of joke around because like if we ever like in the past, like if we ever did role play, I'm always like, I'm the secretary, and I'm like the older boss, and I'm like, he's like, why am I always the older one? I'm like, because I'm the older one.
Yeah.
So like I found the common theme that I was always like the, oh my gosh.
I'm the little dainty girl. Like, yeah, for me it's like I haven't really been like dainty in my life, and so like just pretending that I'm just like, oh, I'm weak or I'm dainty. It's like it's different. Okay, so this is the part of the show where we ask you some fan questions. But before we do that, for the people that are not going to switch over to the UFC Fight Pass platform, where can they follow you on all your social media handles? Where can they check out the gym? Feel free to give your gym a shout out. I'm so happy for you and Hanato because, you know, love is hard, and then opening a business together and then still not wanting to kill each other, you know, like congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I know yesterday I was talking to him about something and I was like, yeah, but you know, like we need to make a decision together because I was like, you're my partner. He's like, I'm your partner. I'm like, yes, you're my partner. He's like, I thought I was just an employee. I'm like, dude, stop. I'm like, so that's why we've made it so far, is because I'm the owner and he's the employee in his eyes, you know?
Got it. I love that.
Me, my Instagram handle is still under my maiden name, so it's just Raquel Pa'aluhi. And then, you know, if you go there, I do have like my website is just raquelcanuto.com, but it's all linked on there. And even for hybrid, it's under Hybrid Jiu-Jitsu. So you can, I mean, everything is going to be on my Instagram.
And then it's Checkmat Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, so we are, like, the name of our gym is Hybrid Jiu-Jitsu, but then we are Checkmat affiliate. So we are like the Checkmat Las Vegas. We used to go by that name when we were in the Venom gym, just so that we could kind of differentiate like ourselves from the Venom name. But now we are going more by hybrid, but we are Checkmat Las Vegas, like the Las Vegas chapter of Checkmat. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, guys, follow her on all those social media handles. And then, yeah, like anytime you're competing or fighting, we would love to promote you as well. Okay, that's it for episode 129 with Raquel Pa'aluhi Canuto. Just a fun name to say in general. Like I said before, when we first started, an inspirational person to me. And if she does get back out there and starts fighting, I will be front row center for that girl. Guys, UFC Fight Pass is the world's premier combat sports streaming service with over 200 live events, the largest fight library in existence, original shows, and more. Sign up for 1 year and get half off for a limited time at ufcfightpass.com/sign up. Okay, I'm very excited to tell you guys. I've been holding this in, but next week we have on Zion Clark. If you don't know who that is, let me give you a little spiel. This is kind of a little bit from Wikipedia and a little bit from his website. He is an American wrestler, professional mixed martial artist, and wheelchair racer who was born with no legs. In addition to his brutal training regimen, he stays busy as a motivational speaker, and the film Zion has garnered critical acclaim at the prestigious Sundance Film Festival in 2018 and is now available on Netflix. I have yet to watch this, guys, but I have seen him on social media, and I just fell in love, like I said, with the inspiration of just watching him do his thing. This man has no legs, and it has not held him back in the slightest. Like I said, professional mixed martial artist, wheelchair racer, and motivational speaker. He's inspiring people by just being him, and I'm honored to have someone like that on the show. And of course, your girl's gonna ask some probably questions that will make you guys go, what the fuck, Ashley, did you just ask that? But yeah, I'm gonna ask, guys. So don't forget to tune into that episode next week. It will be the last episode before I head out to Colombia for stem cells, so that'll be a good one to kind of pause for a second, but we will be back, don't worry. And you can, if you miss us, you can go to our website, sexviolencewithrebelgirl.com, pick up some merch, or you can go to my exclusive fan time site, which is ashleyrebelgirl.com. And if you really miss us, you can send us an email telling us how much you miss us or whatever. We don't care. We love the interaction, guys. And a quick reminder, please rate and review the show. And that's about it. I love you guys for tuning in every week. I love you for the fan questions you sent in that are still available on the UFC Fight Pass platform. And just, for helping me stay busy during the last 2 years. That's really what this started as, just a project to stay busy. And hopefully it led to other things. And 2 years later, guys, here we fucking are. It kept me busy. It kept me mentally sane from not being able to compete and train and do what I love. And guess what? It led to some cool shit. Your girl is now a cage-side interviewer, in-cage interviewer, actually, at this next fight. Wish me luck. And I'm back. And I'm back to fighting now. So thank you. If I didn't have people listening and tuning in, I would have stopped, because what the fuck? Because why? Why do it? So thank you guys. I truly, truly mean that. All you guys listening right now, you guys are very special and very important to me. Thank you. I can't say it enough. You can check us out on social media, always at Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl, and myself at Ashley MMA. Huge thank you to our audio engineer, DJ Zole, who's always holding it down. Check him out on social media at DJ Zole, Tomorrow Kids Studio at Tomorrow Kids Official. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's guest. I fucking did. Remember, be kind, be grateful, but don't take shit from anyone. Talk to you guys next week with a new guest. You know who it is. And more tales of sex and violence.